Mr. President, what do you plan to do on the D.C. crime bill? We understand you will not veto the effort to rescind it.
Can you talk to us about that, sir?
Will you please talk to us, sir?
All right, guys, so we have another story about you get what you vote for, okay? And sometimes, just sometimes, you know, when you let people just kind of vote for what they want, okay, they don't actually understand what they're voting for and the negative ramifications of what they're voting for, which is something we see a whole lot of in these inner liberal cities, right? You have a bunch of people voting for stuff that really is just absolutely insane. Sometimes the adults have to step in and kind of right the ship in the right direction because in this case, those adults that are actually trying to right the ship here, they're putting themselves in danger by letting these lunatics get what they want, right? And what we're talking about here is what's going on in Washington, D.C. with this new pro-criminal crime bill, okay, that local elected D.C. leaders pass, okay? So there's a new crime bill or, you know, pro-crime bill that was passed by a locally elected D.C. leadership, and it is very controversial. And the reason why it's controversial is because it reduces penalties for a lot of crimes that you really shouldn't be trying to reduce penalties for. In fact, I'm actually going to let Corinne Jean-Pierre tell you what the bill does.
I did talk to the team, and we have a couple of things that I just want to lay out for all of you and on what the DC bill does. It reduces maximum penalties for offenses like murders and other homicides, armed home invasion burglaries, armed carjackings, as I mentioned, armed robberies, unlawful gun possession, and some sexual assault offenses.
Yeah, so you heard that, right? You heard how insane that sounds, right? It reduces penalties for violent crimes like murder, sexual assault, armed robberies. Again, things that you would think in 2023, where we have a crime crisis in this country, you wouldn't be trying to make laws that are softer on these criminals. That is the exact opposite of what we need. But again, these people in these inner liberal cities are voting for lunatics, right? But the lunatic at the top of Washington, D.C., okay, which is Mayor Muriel Bowser, she ain't that woke, okay? She ain't going that far, as she actually opposes this new legislation. In fact, she vetoed it. But again, the city council, the local elected officials in D.C. are so woke that they overrode her veto. And now you have the adults stepping in, aka the Republicans in Congress, that are saying, hey, we got to step in and we have to basically override the locally elected leaders of DC in regards to this crime bill, because y'all about to get us killed, okay? We live here too, and we have to suffer the consequences of this insanity. So Republicans again are stepping in, okay, to override the locally elected officials in DC, and this has caused a whole lot of problems and issues in DC, because even some Democrats are like, you know, I kind of agree with Republicans on this, right? But again, you still have some Democrats that are so woke, 173 of them to be exact, who oppose the Republicans trying to overrule the locally elected officials in DC. And again, this has caused a whole lot of issues, okay, in Congress, because you even have some Democrats who actually do have some common sense, right, who don't want to be this soft on crime, siding with Republicans, okay? So the Republicans attempt to overturn the legislation from the locally elected officials in D.C. passed, and now that bill is headed to the Senate, where, again, a lot of Senate Democrats have also come out and said, hey, you know what, we kind of want to overturn this as well. And now Democrats are looking to Joe Biden to veto the legislation, the Republican legislation, if it gets to his desk. And Biden is like, you know what? I don't think that I'm going to actually veto this.
Also developing tonight, Congress and the White House appear poised to meddle in D.C.'s laws. The target is D.C.'s new criminal code, which has not had an overhaul in more than 100 years.
Yeah, the GOP-controlled House has already voted to block it, and with the Senate expected to follow suit, multiple sources tell News 4 President Biden will not overrule Congress with a veto.
As News 4's Mark Seagraves reports, if the president does not step in, this would be the first time in decades that Congress has stepped in to block D.C. from enacting a law.
The district's criminal code is outdated, more than 100 years old. The recent overhaul by the D.C. Council reduced penalties for a variety of crimes. Mayor Bowser vetoed the bill, but the council overrode it. Now Congress has stepped in. The House has already passed a disapproval resolution, and the Senate is expected to vote next week. Multiple sources tell News 4 President Biden will not veto the disapproval resolution should it reach his desk. Unlike any other local jurisdiction in the country, Congress must approve all laws passed by the D.C. Council. It's been 30 years since Congress blocked a law from going into effect. But congressional Republicans and some Democrats have seized the district's crime bill as a way to take a tough-on-crime stance.
I want to thank Senator Haggerty for spearheading the common sense resolution that would nullify the D.C. Council's insane pro-criminal legislation.
Democratic Senator Joe Manchin has said he will vote to block the bill from becoming law, and independent Senator Angus King has also indicated he's leaning toward voting with Republicans, making it likely the decision will then go to President Biden. While the president has said D.C.'s autonomy should be respected by Congress, it now appears the White House does not want to be seen as soft on crime going into a re-election campaign.
I'm not going to get into too much of hypotheticals from here, but the president, I believe, in the last 2 years and throughout his career has shown his dedication in making sure that we keep communities safe.
Despite vetoing the bill herself, Mayor Bowser has said she opposes any congressional interference in local D.C. matters, but she has yet to talk to President Biden about the crime bill. Bowser says her office has tried reaching out to the White House. Bowser, who endorsed Mike Bloomberg in the 2020 Democratic presidential primary and has been at odds with the Biden White House over the migrant bus crisis, has yet to meet face-to-face with Biden since he was elected. By this time in the Trump administration, Bowser had had 2 meetings with the former president. In the district, Mark Seagraves, News 4.
If President Biden does indeed side with Republicans on this D.C. crime bill, it will be the second time a Democratic president has sided with Republicans by going against the will of locally elected D.C. leaders. Now, in 2011, President Obama agreed to allow Republicans to block D.C. from spending local funds on abortions as part of budget negotiations.
Yeah, so I want you guys to understand, this is not the only bill that Republicans are attempting to overrule, okay, from the woke D.C. City Council. They're also allowing illegals to vote as well, too. Okay, they passed a bill without the mayor's signature, allowing illegals to vote, right? I mean, that's how crazy and cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs the people running that city are, okay? So technically, because I think that, you know, D.C. is a district, okay? The top dog in charge really is the federal government, right? It's Congress and the President of the United States, okay? And Joe Biden, it seems like it's probably going to come down to him in regards to whether or not he actually allows these bills to go into effect, to become law. And this is important because it's right before an election year. And if Joe Biden and the Democrats allow this to pass, effectively what that is saying is that Democrats are pro-crime, right? They're soft on crime, which I mean, it's just true, right? We know they are, okay? They're going along with the woke progressive left, the extreme left on that. And they also want illegals to vote, which we know they want that as well too, okay? They're totally fine with illegals voting. Again, confirmation if they let this go through. Now, again, the argument from D.C. is that, well, we should have autonomy, right? The federal government should not be interfering in, you know, our legislative process. However, unfortunately, D.C. is not a state, okay? It's not a state, okay? It is ran by the federal government. And when y'all start passing these crazy laws, okay, you know, you got to have the adults step in and do something about it. Because, again, those people live there and they are affected by those laws, okay? If you allow soft on crime policies where criminals can run the city, somebody's going to get hurt. Okay, somebody's gonna get hurt. So, hey, I mean, I get it. It's unfortunate that D.C. Cannot govern themselves. But again, when you prove that the government that's running that district is just incompetent, is crazy, is Cocoa Puffs insane, and you have federal officials that have to live there, other people have to live there, okay, that are representing the rest of the country. Yeah, I mean, you got to step in and override this stuff, right? It is what it is. So Democrats are actually going nuclear on Joe Biden. Like, they're pissed. House Democrats, woke Democrats, soft on crime Democrats are pissed at Joe Biden for basically doing an about face on this DC law, okay? Because at first he was going to veto it, right? He was indicating that, hey, I'm going to veto it. You know, DC should be able to govern themselves. However, now he's like, you know what? I'm probably not going to veto the Republicans' effort to basically overturn this DC law. I'm going to let it pass, okay? Which, again, is pissing off a lot of Democrats here because Joe Biden's actually doing the right thing. So let's read here. President Joe Biden surprised Democratic lawmakers on Thursday by telling them he would sign a resolution overturning a new law in Washington, D.C. The law, which the district council passed over the veto of Mayor Muriel Bowser, eases penalties for a variety of criminal offenses, including violent crimes. The House of Representatives passed a resolution to overturn the law, but it still requires the approval of the Senate. Last month, 173 Democrats voted against the measure, citing respect for D.C.'s home rule. 31 Democrats joined Republicans in voting to overturn. Biden informed Democrats attending a Senate lunch on Thursday he will sign the resolution if it gets to his desk, thus overturning D.C.'s law. As word spread after the meeting, some Democratic lawmakers were unhappy, to say the least. Quote, the White House effing this up royally. An anonymous House Democrat texted The Hill. Well, again, they're saying this because Biden doing this basically is an indication that DC shouldn't be a state, right? DC should not be allowed to govern themselves, okay? And that's something that Democrats have made an argument for a long time, right? They want DC to be a state because it's going to be another couple Senate seats for them. It's going to be, you know, maybe a couple, you know, House seats or whatever. But with this happening, again, this is a good argument for why DC should not govern themselves. Again, you got Cuckoo for Cocoa Puff people living there, right? And they are not able to, you know, effectively govern themselves. I mean, that's just the reality here, okay? It's out of control. Crime is out of control in that city. The lawmaker noted Biden previously said he supports DC's right to self-government and would oppose the very kind of resolution he said he would sign. Quote, so a lot of us who are allies voted no in order to support what the White House wanted, and now we are being hung out to dry, the lawmaker added. Effing amateur hour, head should roll over at the White House over this. The Democrats stated other lawmakers are extremely pissed about Biden's comments. Yeah, he throwing y'all under the bus. Right? Biden looking out for himself. The president took to Twitter on Thursday to reiterate what he told lawmakers privately. Quote, I support DC statehood and home rule, but I don't support some of the changes DC council put forward over the mayor's objections, such as lowering penalties for carjackings, Biden tweeted. If the Senate votes to overturn what DC council did, I'll sign it. Biden's pledge to abide by DC self-government appears at odds with a promise to overturn laws passed by the district. The District of Columbia notably lacks voting members in the U.S. House and Senate, as its license plate reminds us. Yeah, I mean, again, they shouldn't be. Again, another reason why they shouldn't be a state. Again, these people just simply aren't capable of voting in their own best interest, right? And look at this tweet right here from AOC. She's out here saying that, you know, Biden is wrong on this, okay? She says, this ain't it. DC has the right to govern itself like any other state or municipality. If the president supports DC statehood, he should govern like it. Plenty of places pass laws the president may disagree with. He should respect the people's government of DC just as he does everywhere else. Yeah, AOC says this, but apparently she doesn't respect Japan's right to basically outlaw same-sex marriage, right? She criticized a minister of Japan's statements against LGBTQ people while she was visiting Japan, right? So again, according to AOC and her logic, right, DC can govern itself, okay? Can govern itself, but Japan can't. Not when it comes to being against gay marriage, right? Again, amazing how that works. Again, these people are cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. But then again, you know, part of me is like, well, let them have what they want, right? Let them have what they want. If they want a crime-infested city where criminals are running it, let them have it, right? Look what happened with Portland, okay? You got Walmart leaving, all these businesses are leaving. If this is what they want, this is what they want, okay? Who am I to tell them no, okay? But again, I have elected representatives from North Carolina, from my state, that are there, and I don't want them to get shot and killed, right, or carjacked and mugged because these idiots, okay, the people living there in D.C. can't vote in their own best interest, okay? You got these woke city council members voting for this type of stuff. So, hey, I mean, it is what it is. Joe Biden's actually doing the right thing here, and he's facing backlash from his colleagues. Again, it's sad, but it shows the state of the Democrat Party, right? A lot of these people are really beyond the pale. They can't be reasoned with. They want the most extreme soft on crime policies you can think of. They're a pro-criminal party, right? They're against law and order. They're pro-chaos. And again, it's showing up once again, okay? The progressive left is, really making the Democrats look bad on some key issues in this country. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.